So let's do a quick recap of what we've talked about. We started in like 92 or something, and we were talking about TJ and the other part of the Manson family that was visiting Manson at the time. Well, actually, TJ goes way back. He goes back probably since Manson went to jail. TJ was writing him and visiting him as soon as he could. I know he visited him in several different prisons. And TJ was probably Manson's, he was a good friend of Manson all the way up until TJ died. I had mentioned in there that when I first started talking to Manson, I was just writing him. And then later on I would call him. And then it came to where he said, let's visit. Well, he started talking about visiting well before, I ever did. And when I first started talking about visiting him, I had really no idea of anything anyway. And George would have been visiting him at the time. TJ would have been visiting him at the time, I had no clue. But I said something to him to the respects of you can have so many visitors telling Manson about his own life. You can have like up to 5 visitors, and I'll see what I can do to get some people. It's like, and then Manson tells me that he still has visitors from Spahn Ranch that come to visit him, and we can listen to that here, because I got a small part of that conversation here, and you can hear Manson say exactly what I just said about how people are still visiting him from Spahn Ranch.
So, I want you to have a good one. You too. Keep calling and find out. I will. I'll... That's going to support what we're doing in that area. And then she can visit her husband, and I'll visit my wife, and then you can visit your cousin, and then we can have a visiting room. I got you. We'll have to work to make one. All right. You can have up to 5. We'll work on that. Well, there's other people that visit that are friends of mine that used to live at the ranch. I have a lot of people that used to come and go at that place. Well, why don't they come now? They do when they... You have exceeded your time. Peace. Your call. Take care. You're calling?
Manson, in a way, reminded me of Michael Jackson. Like a person who never grew up, Like Michael Jackson never had a chance to grow up. I don't think Charles Manson ever had a chance to grow up either. And they kind of remind me of each other, because both of them really like to be around kids. And not in any dirty kind of way. They just like to be around kids, and that spirit of kids. And Manson, he was around his share of kids, and he really liked kids. And this shows you that Manson was visiting some of the kids even of the Manson family during that period of time. Okay, so now we're caught up a little bit where we're at now. Welcome back. Thanks for coming back again. I appreciate every single time you watch. It means a lot, I guess. I don't know if it means a lot or if it don't mean a lot. Because when I started YouTube, and I'd post a video and it might get 1 view, 2 views, and then in a week it might get 30, So at the very beginning of YouTube, it was pretty tough. And then it might get 50. And you'd be like, yeah, I got 50 views. So I appreciate every single one, because I started way back when 1, 2, 3 really meant a lot, And now every single one means, it's just like, it's kind of humbling, really, actually, when you think about it on how many people watch you. Because I have 1 telephone call between me and Manson. It's almost got a 250,000 views. Can you imagine 250,000 people listening in on one of your telephone conversations? Anyway, now we're kind of caught up to the point where, if you haven't, watched, go back and watch. I talk about a lot of things, and now we're up to the point where TJ and Ansem, they're both dead. And I get a call out of the blue that says, hey, Charlie said you'd be interested in this. That's what this show's about. And of course, I was interested. So I told him from the very beginning that I was a collector. So if he knows something about you, he will surely share that with his friends. And he did. A friend. I don't know if it was a friend or not. Actually, I don't know what it was, to tell you the truth. So just let me tell you a story. I get a call of, hey, Charlie said you might like this. Oh yeah, I surely would. Where do I meet you at? You know, that was my answer. So I ended up driving to California City. And from here, California City is quite a drive, man. It's like an hour and something just to get there. And I get there, and I'm supposed to meet up with this person, and we're going to look at the storage unit, per se, that belonged to TJ. Now, TJ's dead. And you might have heard about this storage unit that TJ had that shit came out of and where it went and all that stuff. I'll tell you about that now. That's what we're going to talk about. Because I showed up in California City, and there's this little girl about this tall. She's the one I meet up with. Blonde hair. I think her name was Cheryl. No, maybe that wasn't her name. No, that wasn't her name. That was another person and another story. That's another story. Oh my. I can't remember what the girl's name was, to tell you the truth now. But anyway, she had this old kind of, I don't know what kind of car it was, like an old 80s Oldsmobile. It was a big old boat kind of car. So anyway, I got there, and now I'm going to ride with her. And we're going to go to the storage unit that was left behind by TJ and Ansem. And this was well before all these Storage War shows where you see people bidding on them and shit like that. But that's what I thought was going to happen. I thought, you know, we're going to go to the storage place, and I'm going to have to bid on this with people. Even before those shows ever came out, that's what I thought. I thought, there's going to be other people that want this Manson shit, I know it. Because I've been to other auction type shit before where they sold off murder, you know, crap of all kinds of stuff. And usually there's other people there. Well, now we're driving, and we're going now from California City, we're going to Trona. Trona is another hour and 45 minutes. And I'm telling you what, in that time there and in that time back, you surely get to know a person that you're driving with. Well, I had no idea who this person was anyway. You know, I just show up, and now I'm in this big-ass Oldsmobile kind of boat. She's driving. She's a little tiny little girl. And we're headed to Trona to look at this storage locker. And I don't know what to think. At this point, you know, again, you get to know who you're with. And I'm almost like a hitchhiker at this point because I just jumped in this person's car, and we're flying down these roads where nobody's really on them. You know, when you're headed towards sort of Death Valley when you're going to Trona. It's right on the outside of Death Valley, actually. And I guess at one point, you know, TJ lived there. And so now we're headed down these roads, and I'm looking at this girl, and she's got a button-up shirt, and it's kind of unbuttoned, and one of her tits is almost hanging out, but like in between her tits is like hair growing on her tits. And the more I'm looking at her, just more I'm like, wow, this girl's just different. I don't even know if she's a girl or not. I don't know what she is. And then there was a point. There was one point where she had to get in, and she kept her arm on the armrest, and she told me she did that because she took it off. She was driving, and she took it off, and the armrest pops up, and there was no way to hold it down, so her arm held it down. Well, one time she moved her arm away, and it pops up, and there's this freaking bag in there, like floating around on top of like a meth pipe and shit, and I'm looking at this thing, and she's seen me see it. And so she decides to inform me of what it is. She's like, yeah, it's my piss when I gotta go take a piss test. I'm on parole now. And I'm thinking, she's on parole. I don't know if she's a dude. I don't know if she's a man. I don't know what she is. She's got a bag of piss in here. She's got a bag of piss sitting on a meth pipe, probably sitting on meth. We're probably cruising down through here with meth, and we get pulled over by the cops. They're not going to believe my story that I'm going out to get some kind of memorabilia from Charles Manson's family with this girl. So now I'm scared to death. Again, I'm scared. A lot of times in this Manson shit, and you're always, I was anyway, I was always by myself, and it was like, man, my heart was, again, my heart was beating like you didn't know. We're on a 3-hour tour now with meth and piss, and I don't know what to think. So anyway, now we turn up, and we finally get there, and it's almost like a drug deal. It wasn't no, hey, I'll give you 5, and I'll give you 6, hey, I'll give you 3, 4, 5, 6, 50, 70. No, nothing like that. Nothing like you see on TV. It was almost like a drug deal. Sat outside, in the car, don't come in, you can't come in. These people are fucking mean. Mean? What the fuck? What the hell did I get into here? Mean. She gets up to the house, she up these stairs, and on a little porch, and guy opens up the door, looks at her, she goes in. They're in there for God knows how long. It seemed like forever. It seemed like they were looking at me out the windows and shit. I didn't know what, I thought I was going to get shot. I didn't know if I should duck down. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I should get down, flag down the police. I didn't know what to do. And again, so I just like, okay, I'll sit here. I have faith that this lady has Manson memorabilia, and they just didn't kidnap me or something, because really, it wasn't looking like there was no storage in it. Okay, anyway, now, finally, dude opens up the door again. She comes boom down the steps. She comes to the car, over to my window, and she says, okay, they're going to open up the garage. And they had a garage that was like connected to this house. So they're opening up the garage, and they're going to put the shit in the car, and then we got to get out of here. Huh? Okay, whatever. So we're loading up all kinds of crap. I got some of it here, all stashed around. I got like the kitchen table, got a chair of theirs. I got whole bunches of boxes of shit of theirs, from Christmas decorations to camping shit, all kinds of shit. And her whole car was full of crap. And then there was one suitcase, like luggage suitcase thing. So there was tools, there was all kinds of crap. First aid kits, there was all kinds of shit. And all of it was TJ shit. And I'm like, man, did we just come like clean up this dude's garage? For what the hell did we just do? And now we're out of there again. And now we're headed back to California City. And on the way back to California City, this is when she's, I don't know, kind of feeling me out, I guess, on, what kind of money I would pay for this kind of shit. And, it's like, mainly it's camping shit and stuff like that. You can buy camping shit all over the place, like used, so that wasn't like all that big of a deal. Tents, sleeping bags, and blankets, and, shit like that. What the hell am I going to do with all this shit? Half of it I gave away later on, after I did finally get it, but I didn't have it yet. All I had was just a carload of shit, a lady I really didn't know, and we're driving back, and we're talking about how I can acquire this crap that's in the suitcase, or in the suitcase, and in this car, and there was also a suitcase, and I said, basically, I'll give you this amount of money for it, because I had already, when this person had called me, I knew a couple collectors, so I'd already got a hold of them, because I really, at the time, didn't have the money, and I was figuring it was going to be around a couple $1,000s, and I didn't have the money for it at the time myself, and I didn't really want the stuff anyway, but I really wanted to go see it, I wanted to look at all this stuff, and see what it was, and so I hooked up with these collectors, and I called them on the phone. I says, hey man, I might have this stuff from TJ. I don't know what it is. Would you be willing to, kick in some money, and I'll give it to you. You guys can divide this shit up, and you can put it on your website. You can sell it there. You can do whatever with it. But I'll go get it, and then I'll find out what the price is, because I don't even know what the price is yet. And they're like, okay, cool. And so I'm headed off, with this knowledge that these dudes are good dudes too. And one of them's super not from, he's been around for a long, long time. He's a really, really good friend of mine. He's been a good friend of mine for a long time. Well, he was one of the people that said, yeah, sure, man, no problem, however much. And then there was a few other guys too. But anyway, so I got this knowledge of, okay, so anyway, I've got this knowledge of, these dudes are going to give me some money, however much it is. We're going to get this shit paid for, and then we're going to divide it up. I'll get it sent to them and whatever. And she's like, okay, I'll take, I think she said she wanted like $750 for it first, for all the stuff. I was like, okay, I can do that. I thought it was kind of high at the time, but I thought, okay, I can do that. And so I had her stop at a bank. I went into bank, I got money, cash, gave it to her. Didn't really even ask her for a receipt for it. And it was like, I didn't have all the money to give to her. And plus, I really didn't know what I was going to do with all this crap. I didn't know if these people were going to want it, how much it was going to cost for shipping, to ship the kitchen table of TJ's, or a chair of TJ's, or, camping supplies. And basically I kept all that shit in the long run. I have it all now, so I got TJ's tent, went camping in Death Valley in TJ's tent. But anyway, back to the story. $750, okay, cool, what have you. So I take this shit, and now I'm home with it. And I unloaded all this crap, and I'm going to call Ken up from Supernaut now and say, hey man, I got a tent for you. Will you give me $750 for it? No, So I'm looking through this shit, and I'm like, man, a bunch of stuff. Okay, cool, it's all theirs. But who the hell wants their stuff? I mean, if it was Manson stuff, okay, fine. But it was their stuff. And I opened up the suitcase then, and that was a jackpot. Man, there was letters in there from TJ. There was his last will and testament was in there. Part of it he started writing, and he didn't really finish it. There was a book in there that Manson started to write. There was birth certificates from the kids of theirs. There was all kinds of shit in there, man. There was Polaroids like this thick of them and Charles Manson in prison with all these kids that you've seen in that letter. You've seen the pictures on the internet because I've showed them before, and then people have stolen them. But coming in the next video, I'll show you all that stuff, because Manson, I told him about it, and then he talks about the stuff. And mainly he talks about some of the people in these pictures, mainly some of the kids. Like I told you about Charles and Michael Jackson kind of reminded me of each other. Manson gets into some heavy kind of mob shit in the next one, where he's talking about the people that are in these pictures, and like, I still don't know what to think about it. But anyway, back to this story. Finally ended up that I opened up the suitcase, and there's a whole crap load of stuff in there, and I thought, okay, I can get my $750 out of Supernaut and all these people. And I had told this chick, because I gave her I think I gave her $250, maybe it was $350. I might have gave her half. That I would give her money in 2 more weeks, so I still had a connection with her, which was kind of bad news to me now that I had the suitcase. I wish I'd have just given her all the $750 and been over with it and been gone, but no, I wasn't. She knew where I lived, and I owed her $350 more, something like that. Okay, now I've seen this stuff, and I thought, shit, man, I could probably get like $3,000 out of this stuff, because there's like a stack of Polaroids, and Polaroids at that time were about $100 a piece, and if the Manson family was all done, you can get $250 a piece. And I thought, wow. And plus there was, TJ had collected some shit too, like all Manson's albums were in there. There was some actual music in there of Manson's that was never put on album before. There's all kinds of things in there. And now this lady calls me up. I said, 2 weeks from now, I'll give you a call and we'll hook up and I'll give you the rest of the money. And it wasn't even 24 hours. And she calls me back and she's like, hey man, can I get the rest of that money? And I'm like, man, I just told you, so I went this tap dance with her, like, I told you 2 weeks, I ain't got the money. If I would have had it, I would have gave it to you, and she's like, all right, okay, fine. And then she hangs up, and that was the end of that. And then it wasn't like, maybe 6 hours more, and then she calls back, and she says she talked to the people who we took the shit out of the garage from, and they wanted $10,000 for it. And I'm like, what, 10,000? You gotta be kidding me. And she's like, nope, they want $10,000. They said, well, you guys worth more than $750. And I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. So now they want 10 grand for this shit. Now these people all know where I live. Now I'm just like, what? I can't believe this stuff. And I'm like really to the point I'm pissed off. Because I'm thinking in my head, they don't really know what was in here. They don't know how many Polaroids are here. They don't know anything. And I'm definitely going to get my $350 worth because they're not going to give me back the money if I take this shit back. So I told them, I'm like, you know what, man? And I already told the collectors, of what I found in this luggage. And these dudes were ready to give me about almost $5,000 for it. And now I'm in a bind here because these people want $10,000 now, and these are only willing to really give me $5,000, and I've already given up $350 with my own money. So this is how this always goes in this Manson world. You never really win on anything. The only thing you really win on is just getting to see this stuff, because I've got to see it all, and I'll show it to you again in the next video that's coming up. I'm just telling you now how I got it. And back to how I got it. Okay, now I'm to the point where I'm pissed. I'm really pissed again. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. $10,000? Now it's $10,000? First it was $750. Now it's $10,000? What the fuck is going on here? I'm just gonna bring this shit back and throw it in your yard. I don't want it anymore. And I was gonna take out my $350 really for all my trouble. I was gonna take out more like $1,550 worth of shit out of that thing. But I was going to take some out and take this shit back and throw it in their yard. And finally, she negotiated somehow with these people, and now they really only wanted $2,000 for the stuff. So again, I got back on the phone. I'm like, and they wanted the money now. If I was going to go for $2,000, they wanted the money now. She was coming down. Her and her bag of piss in the middle of the car was coming down to get it now. And I'm like, okay, give me a second. So I called again. I called the collectors that I knew and told them, hey man, I need this money now. I don't have the shit for you to give you right yet. You're going to get it in the mail here when I get it all packaged up. And they sent me the money. One dude sent me a check. Another dude, because back then there was no such thing as PayPal. One dude sent me cash in the mail all wrapped up. And I was like, oh man, why'd you send me cash like that? But anyway, that, and so then I was gonna divvy this shit up to these people. And she came down, she got her money, and she went away. And I learned later, her sister thought I was a friend of hers for whatever reason. And her sister called me to tell me that, hey man, did you know that such and I can't remember the girl's name, but she goes, did you know such and such? She went over to somebody's house to collect some money off of them, and they shot her point blank in the chest. And she's in the hospital right now if you want to like make a donation, flowers. And it's like, so that's how tough this girl was. She got shot point blank in the chest, probably from a meth dealer, and she lived. She's dead now. When her sister told me that she got shot point blank going up to somebody's door, it just reminded me of that day that I was sitting out in a car and she walked up to that door, and I was thinking, I wonder if those are the same people that shot her. I don't know, I have no clue. Anyway, that's the story of how I got that shit. So it wasn't easy to obtain. In the end, it cost me about $2,350 because I had to give them another $2,000. So it almost cost me $2,500. and then a day's worth of travel with this lady, and then a headache for a few days afterwards of having this stuff. But in the next video, again, I'll show you some of the stuff. I'll show you some of the people in these Polaroids, and we'll let Manson explain about when he took the pictures of these Polaroids and these people in them and some of these kids in them, and how he talks about the kids, how he almost has a brain like a kid himself, and how he almost gets like into really deep mob type shit. Anyway, that's the next time. Thanks for watching this time. Hope you enjoyed that, because man, I sure didn't. Not at the time when I was driving out there and I seen that piss bobbling around. That was like, but later on it was okay. And then next video I'll show you the residuals of all that, and some of these Polaroids, some of these pictures, maybe even some of the writings in there, because a lot of them were by Manson. There was a lot of them in there that were by Manson himself. Anyway, thanks so much, as always, for watching. And until next time, peace.